What is going on, Vikings fans? Welcome back to the Purple and Gold Bar Show. Today, we got a special guest joining us today because today's going to be a little bit different than normal. I'm gonna have my typical optimistic, positive look, but after that, with our special guest, Skol State of Mind, Mr. D Woods, we're definitely gonna go raw. We're gonna let our inner thoughts loose on for you guys. So thank you for joining me so much. And D Woods is almost home, so he will join us momentarily here. So yeah, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. We are on the road to 500 subscribers. Why is that monitor not off or not on? Today we got a good one for you. I am your host, Supreme Overlord, aka Mr. AI Man 3000, aka Purple and Gold Bars for you at your service. Always trying to give you guys a positive, optimistic, well thought out, outside of the box thinking analysis for you guys, hoping that we can kind of combat some of the negativity that we see on a regular basis when it comes to our Minnesota Vikings and just football and just life in general. So I want to try to bring some of that to you guys so you guys can escape from it all from time to time. All right, guys, let's get into it. Let's do the intro. What up, two-toned? What is going on, brother? Yeah, man. You know, when I was thinking about when I was doing the live yesterday, I'm pretty sure I said that it was like 53 to 47, and I thought it was going to be in favor of us. But I said I wouldn't be surprised if things went wrong. But one thing that kind of stood out was the fact that the O-line was essentially as decimated as they went as by the end of the first quarter, right? So it's very similar to the Atlanta Falcons game. We just could not handle. I don't know if that interception and then following up that pick six. I don't know if that demoralized the defense because it seemed like they were a little bit rattled right after that. I don't know if that played any factor, but at the end of the day, that might only take effect for us as fans, but maybe professional football players probably aren't affected as much as that because they are so used to the bad plays and stuff. Yeah, and then it was interesting to see watching Let's Skol the day before Skoling with the enemy and they were talking about how they would switch coaches with us. I wonder if they would say the same now after yesterday's game. They kind of made me laugh because it's like, man, just about every team complains about their coach and the situation and whatnot, and maybe a little bit overcritical. But yeah, I definitely was not happy with the outcome. Definitely was not happy the way that the game went. We are definitely going to get into that raw reaction once we get Mr. D Woods. Oh, there looks like he's jumping in the live. And then yeah, I'll definitely start with a take here. Let me remove this 1 second. There we go. Mr. D Woods, can you hear me?
I can hear you quite well.
Awesome, man. So I was just kind of doing a little bit of filler, kind of doing that thing before we started. But before we get into it, I did want to kind of take, you know me, I like to be positive. I like to be optimistic and stuff. So I kind of want to take a moment to just speak on bringing a little bit of positivity because I don't want to just leave that at the door, even though we're going to go raw. I want to go raw and from the emotion and from the heart on this one, right? So
I gotta find my
we're going
LA.
to let it go. What? No, that's you. You're always like that. But, I want to kind of preface that, right? So, for me, it was frustrating, guys. I'm not going to lie. And it's very difficult to be sitting here today, especially all day. I've been thinking, like, how can I be positive about this? What can I possibly say that isn't going to come across like a cliche or like I'm just trying to make excuses. And I definitely don't want to make any excuses. The thing that I want to point out is um maybe a common saying, it's always darkest before dawn. It's the rain is always the strongest before the storm breaks, kind of giving the just kind of alluding to the fact that as rough as it feels right now, I think that a lot of good things are still to come. I know it's not happening as fast as that we want, but I still do feel like regardless of the low points that we're feeling this season, I think that we're still on the right track. We're definitely going to go into all the things that we saw that we want to criticize. I really want to just jump straight into it, but I did want to let you guys know that um I'm still confident in this team. Maybe not in the way of like we're going to make a run and make a deep playoff run or nothing like that. More in the confidence that as we progress through these injuries and as we get to see more of JJ going into the future, I feel like we're going to be looking back at this time and kind of laughing at how bad we overreacted. So with that being said, I just want to start with a little bit of positivity and optimism. I don't want to say that there was anything optimistic to pull from specifically from the game, but it was rough all the way around. So I couldn't find even a spot where I could be like, "Hey guys, look at this." Well, maybe no. There's one thing. It was very similar to the Atlanta Falcons game, right? So JJ McCarthy put up 6 points after basically all the offensive line guys went out in the first quarter. And then Carson put up 10 points in almost the same situation, right? So kind of lends to be like, JJ may not be that far off of what we need him to become in the near future. So that's my positivity, that's my optimism. Let's get right into the raw rants, complaining, everything that you want to say. Let's get into it. I'll let you lead the way because I know I'm gonna want to let my hair down, for lack of a better way of saying it. What's going on, man? How are you today?
I'm good. I'm good. I mean, it was a rough game. I woke up this morning feeling great. I
Hey,
mean, it's because I'm not. This isn't a rant for me.
okay.
This isn't a situation to where I'm about to get on here and just be like, whatever. But there's one thing that I hate doing it. But I'm so petty. I do love it.
This is the stream. We're gonna allow ourselves to be petty, man. So go ahead.
I told you so. And when I say I told you so, it's just really, really, really weird that a lot of the things I've been saying for the past couple of seasons are coming to fruition because you can always bring the stats up. You can always, say what it is and be optimistic. But one of the two main things I said for the past couple of seasons, Brian Flores is not a good defensive coach. This defense is not good. Now you guys are seeing what I was talking about. Middle of the field, always open. You cannot beat veteran quarterbacks and coaching staffs that actually prepare for you. And on the offensive side of the ball, Kevin O'Connell is continuing to call these long development plays down the field that make his offensive linemen look bad. I've been saying it for the past couple of seasons. And the thing about it is like I know you follow basketball, you follow
Mhm.
other sports, right? And let's just say I gave this analogy to Mike earlier today, right? I'm a big Kobe guy, whatever. So let's say Kobe Bryant plays 5 games, right?
Mhm.
5 games, he averages 15 points, right? Well, let's say four within those 4 games, he averages 15 points, right? That's good. So he has like a 15-point average. But within those 5 games, he scores, let's say 80 points. So you know what that does? That brings up his average. It might not bring it up significantly, but it brings it up his average. That's this team. This team has been relying on great games against bad teams, and they've been trying to scheme so much to like do certain things to where when you go against good coaches, they don't give a damn about your scheme. They are just going to smack you in the mouth. And when they do that, this coaching staff, both sides of the ball, and even special teams, they don't have an answer. They get out coached, and they try to rely on trying to be cute. And sometimes in football, football is not a cute sport. It's not. You're gonna have to beat the guy in front of you, and that's kind of the reason why, like, I can't sit on here and like be, crashing out or whatever, because I called the situation early. I called, you know, bad development on this roster early. I called, hey, we got to stop signing so many free agents, to these contracts,
Mhm.
these veterans. Like, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? If these guys can't produce, or they get hurt, and that's what's happening on both sides of the ball. You
Mhm.
got your offensive lineman to where the guy you signed Ryan Kelly to a lot of money, he can't play. We don't know if he ever be back. Then you got Will Fries, who's not really excelling as what you pay for. You're basically, if you look at, I'm not a big PFF guy, but if you look at the PFF grades, I think Ingram is actually highly rated over him when Will Fries, when you already had that guy in house and you wouldn't have to pay him that much. Then you go look at the defensive side of the ball. You sign Allen and Hargrave because you wanted interior pass rush, but then you traded away Harrison Phillips to where he was basically solidifying your run defense. But Jonathan Allen and Hargrave, they get pushed around. And I saw Hargrave sit like majority of the game last night. And you signed that money. Like, I called it. I've been aware of it. I really, like, Freddie. I really been trying to be optimistic this year. I was really trying to say, like, you know what, maybe I am being a little too negative. Maybe I'm not seeing it, but it's just like when you go to a game and you see it live and you're just looking at it like yo, and then you start having conversations with people that you're sitting by and you don't really know them, so you don't know what they believe in. You're just starting to have like conversations, and you get people like, damn, like, people are really out here thinking the same thing. They just don't have a platform to talk about it.
Absolutely.
And I'm just saying, bro, it's like I hate to be somebody has to get fired, but I think these next 3 games, man, if they get embarrassed like this, the next 3 games, man, something has to happen, bro. It's it's sad. It's sad, man, because we really thought this season was gonna be the season for us to try to get in the playoffs and actually win something, but I don't see that happening right now, bro. I just really don't, man. I think a lot of the stuff that we've been praising for the past couple of seasons are basically flukes. Like, they're
Mhm.
flukes.
I
Like,
get what you're saying.
yeah, they're flukes, and it's just like I just have gripes, man. It's just like it just it just doesn't look good, man. Like, it I want McCarthy to play, but then I don't want him to play because I don't want him to get bashed in the head and be damaged.
Mhm. No, I get what you're saying, man. Like, and to kind of piggyback on some of those things that you were saying, like we are very much team dependent, for lack of a better way of saying it. Like, everybody needs to do their job equally for it all to work, right? Because when it works, when the O-line's perfect, when the quarterback's perfect, when the receivers are perfect, then the defense can is perfect as well, the special teams, then it looks incredible. Like, we've seen that like that, right? um but when one freaking cog falls out of line, things just go sideways. And that can't be, maybe it's maybe it's a thing of like this system or this vision or whatever, you know what I mean, that Quasi or KOC have in, that they want to be build towards and eventually be that team. So because they think that if we can withstand the growing pains and getting to that stage, we're going to be on a different level because we're going to be the first to do it. So, like, I understand the kind of that idea, but when things are going so drastically wrong, there has to be a backup plan. There has to be a third plan. There has to be a fourth plan. They can't just be, well, we have to still try to make it work, even though we're severely deficient in areas, knowing that if every aspect of the team isn't playing up to par, we're going to struggle and we're going to lose, right? So I totally understand that. It's very disjointed at times because we can't get our run blocking scheme going on because the O-line isn't healthy enough and or has been healthy enough long enough for them to actually start working on that, improving on that, and making that an actual skill set. To go also back to, letting go of Harrison Phillips, right? We basically gave up that skill set in order to increase our pass rush and our pass defense, but
That's not working
what did
either.
we actually gain from that, right? And I get it. It might be too soon, whatever. Like you can say whatever it is, like we're not 1,000%. So, like, of course, we're not going to be able to see what it's supposed to look like yet. So I understand the devil's advocate side to that, but at the same time, it can't be the be all end all. When you're a team like in this situation, you have to have other ways to win. It can't be so reliant on the defense. We got to come up with different ways to, like what I'm thinking is just be more fundamentally sound, be more less cutesy and more like fundamental, right? Like there's a lot of times where it's like we should be running the ball here, or at the very least throwing a quick pass, um, like play to mimic the same thing as a run, but we're not.
And
We try to be cute by trying to catch people off guard. Oh, they're going to expect us to run, so we're going to throw a bomb here, and it's like, what do you mean? Now we're doing that so regularly that's the obvious thing now. So now it's like if you want to play that game of try to catch people off guard, how about you go straight to fundamentals when we're like, this is a situation where they always pass, and then we catch them off with a run. You know what I mean? Like just to kind of show, like, go back to fundamentals. You know what I mean? Because, like you said, the scheme, the plan, the vision, the idea of what this team is trying to become is just not possible with the state of the team that it is right now. So you got to abandon that and move into fundamental football, doing things because the fundamentals work. There's a reason why you have to have fundamentals and why other teams are being successful in the situation that they are using fundamental freaking play design, fundamental freaking play calling, so I'm 1,000% there with you, and it's extremely aggravating. I was similar to you where I didn't wake up upset or anything like that. I kind of woke up indifferent. Like other seasons after a devastating loss like that, it'll throw me off for a week, maybe two. After that playoff loss in '02 or '01 or whatever that was, 2021 or 2022, whatever it was, with in KOC's first year against the Giants, it like ruined like a month for me. You know what I mean? Like I had spent like the previous like 2 months working on a video editing, getting music together, being so hyped up to drop my first Vikings video. And then when that happened, I scrapped it all and I just was like, I don't want to think about football at all. You know what I mean? And that's so to contrast to now, where I think also my the reason that I wasn't so upset today is because I also didn't think that we were going to be making a deep playoff run. My window was before the injuries was 12-9. And if you could adjust it because of the O-line injuries to start the season, it probably would have been like 10-11, 8-9, you know what I mean? To have a kind of realistic, right? So I expected a lot of bad games but the reason I expected bad games was because of our rookie quarterback, right?
right,
But
he's not playing right.
that's not the thing. That's not the case. So it's even more frustrating that because these are super low lows that I expected to see, but I was comfortable seeing them if it's because JJ McCarthy is just struggling or growing pains, whatever, you know what I mean? And
Yeah, it's just
so when it
you have a
happens this way, it's just even more aggravating. Like you don't even understand. But I was able to kind of let a lot of that go immediately after the game because I understood, it's Carson Wentz. We're banged up. I expected to see really lows, not this low. So I understand where you were, like, and yeah.
yeah. You see that comment right now?
Hold on a sec.
Bring that up. I
Cam
want to.
or
That's
here we
Quincy
go.
Adolfo. Like, okay,
Kyle.
look, this is how. Yeah,
Go ahead.
so Kyle, this is how I don't think Kwesi is in the hot seat right now. I think this coaching staff is in the hot seat right now. And why I'm saying it's not Kwesi is because you can't have it two ways. And I keep saying this over and over again. Like you hear in the offseason a lot of, commentators, podcasters, it's like, yeah, Brian Flores, he got his guy. Kevin O'Connell got his guy, right? So if you say that they got their guy that they wanted to, that they believed in, and they wanted it on the roster, the job of a general manager is to be an extension to the coaching staff and actually put the coaching staff in the best position to succeed. I believe Kwesi Odofa-Mensah has done that by leaning on his coaching staff and getting the players that the coaching staff wants. I think the coaching staff has not produced and developed guys that they wanted. They kind of that they asked for. So you can't come on here and be like, oh, Kwesi's in the hot seat because he can't draft and the cap situation, or he can't sign guys. He's doing what his coaching staff wants so they can have the best guys available that they think, and this is what I'm saying, that they think will be able to help this team excel. But the coaching staff are not executing that. How we get mad at the players for not executing on the field, we have to start holding this whole coaching staff accountable for going out there and signing guys, wanting Kwesi to draft guys, and they do nothing with them. That's not on Kwesi. That's on coaching. They're on the hot seat.
Yeah, I agree. There's very little that I can defend today when it comes to this team. So I'm not going to start. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not defending. I'm just really like Freddie. Like I'm told you, man. Like I really been trying to be optimistic with this team. Like
oh, I know. I've seen it in your content and in the way that we talk. Yeah, absolutely.
You've been trying, but like to me, the eye test is not like what I have to go back to my eye test. And like I played football as a kid. I played football in high school. I played football at the junior college, and that's when I stopped. But like I just know, like I know what I'm seeing because I put in a lot of work, with the football situation, and it's just like this ain't it. Like there's like I can't come on here and lie to y'all. Like I want to tell the truth is, to the fans out there, man. Like this ain't it, man. Like the chickens come to roost sometimes, man. It is. It's sad, bro. Like it's depressing because we got 10 games left. And
I get it.
do you think, honestly, like the next 10 games are going to be any different?
I do, but not in the extent where I think that all of a sudden we're gonna go on a magical run and make some sort of splash in the defense. I'm I'm more of like, what's the best way? Um, like the process, right? There's a lot of teams that have been like the process, right? When I think back, I'm like, when I started last year thinking about Moneyball. That's how I was able to get a decent read on the team last year and why I was able to kind of almost predict the season, right?
Right.
And when I think about the research that I did about the Oakland A's, they started off rough. I think they lost like the first two or three, and then they won like a couple, and then they were kind of like winning, losing, wins, and they looked good, and then they looked bad, right? And a lot of people, I imagine, were fans specifically were like, this thing that we got was Frankenstein, because to them it was like, what are you guys doing? All these guys are literally bums that nobody wants to sign. And like, what are you doing? Blow it up, fire everybody. You know what I mean? Like, so when I think about the Oakland A's in that time, and then the animosity and the craziness. Now it's different in baseball because there's 182 games or whatever the frick it is, right? So like it's different. They got a huge sample size, and there's a lot of time for things to show, right?
And
In
everybody's
football,
playing at once.
we got on top of that, and we got 16 games and then 16 games. So what they experience in one season, it's like 4 years for us in the NFL, right? So it's really difficult, right, to kind of imagine that, right? But right before Mike Sports Vibe, what's going on, buddy? So but then all of a sudden they go and have an insane winning streak, right? They set a record in at that time for consecutive wins, right? So they went from a team that everybody was like literally wanting to to throw away and to fire everybody and just get rid of Billy Bean, you know. I found some articles where some of the media was saying it's just give Billy Bean some time. It's gonna it'll we got to give it time. And so like I see people, you know, saying that. So it kind of makes me think, are we in that type of situation? Is it a thing of like once we get fully healthy and then as JJ plays more and more games, we're going to start to see some refinement and we're going to start seeing a little bit more of the picture? I don't think we're going to be like to where I expect us to be next year. Like my expectations, if everything pans out the way that I expect it this year, with just growth instead is my goal instead of wins or even playoff wins, if that happens, then next year I'm going to have some real expectations where if we start seeing this sort of stuff, then I'm going to be upset, right? And then I think of other teams like the Celtics, right? They went and traded Garnett and freaking Paul Pierce, and they committed to the process, right? And then a few years later, they draft, they do whatever, and now they're one of the best teams in the NBA, right? And when I look at a bunch of examples and I start thinking about that, there's so many examples that we can pull. I'm trying to think of other teams right off the bat, right? But um, ideally, like not everybody did it immediately. You know what I mean? There is that growing pain where there's a moment where everybody just wants to blow it up, you know, and give up because it just doesn't. You can't see the future, right? So I'm like, are we there? Or are there just fundamental flaws that as we see the next 10 games play out, even if all the right things happen, if we get fully healthy at the O-line, if we get fully healthy in general, and JJ McCarthy plays a whole 10 games, if it just looks this bad the rest of the way, that'll be a completely different story, right? But if we start seeing progress and then we start seeing growth in the right areas and we look good at times but we also look bad at times, then I'm more willing to lean into the it's part of the process. We're in that slow era of just growth, you know, that looks so bad that it's very hard to root behind. Or these next 10 games are going to go, okay, this is the worst case scenario that I thought. At this point, it's get rid of, you know, like trade JJ, move, like try to bring in a veteran quarterback that actually has not a reclamation project, like an actual veteran quarterback that has the ability to win and proven track record to win. And then let's salvage what we have of this good enough roster that can try to make a splash and try to get something out of the next year, the year after, before we have to actually rebuild, right? And then move on from Kwesi, move on from KOC, right? So like, yeah, like the next 10 games are going to be very telling. So I don't know. It's I would love to be able to look at it in the crystal ball and see what the end of the season looked like now so I can have some confidence to go one way or the other. But I can justify both options. I can justify based on what I've seen so far, this ain't it. And we're going to have to blow it up at the end of the season. Or I can also justify, you know, this just might be the darkest part of the storm and we're not close enough to the dawn for us to have confidence that we will improve, if that makes sense.
You know what, Freddie? I hear what you're saying, and I hear the analogy that you're trying to give, you know, with the money ball situation. But I'm gonna give you one what I think it is. The honeymoon is over. That's where we're at right now. This is to the point where you have to make or break, you know, this team, like where you have to excel. When you are hit with adversity, you have to figure out what to do. And while I say the honeymoon is over, it's I really believe in film. I think the reason why like film is real big in the NFL. I
Mhm.
think there's so much film on Flores' defense. There's so much film on Kevin O'Connell's offense to where they haven't adjusted the right way to kind of go in and smash teams. And they're not surprising guys with this movement at the line or this disguise of this front or whatever. And it's just it's not there anymore. So it's like the honeymoon is completely over. This is people call it nut cutting time. This is nut cutting time. You get what I'm saying? Like this is
Mhm.
when you have to, this is when you know good coaches are built. right now, right? Like good coaches are built within this adversity right now. Or when your team is getting smacked in the mouth, it's like, what do you do next? Like if you look at all the great coaches in the history of the NFL, they've always had points in their career to where they had a shit team was bad, they figured some stuff out, and then they moved on. You get what I'm saying? Like Andy Reid is probably one of my favorite coaches out there. Like he couldn't get over the hump in Philadelphia. He couldn't. Even when they went to the Super Bowl, they lost. You know, the greatest quarterback of all time. You know, so then he goes to Kansas City and they figure some things out. And we can always say like, oh, he got Pat Mahomes. Yeah, Pat Mahomes is part of it, but Andy Reid's process and him, you know, learning from his mistakes that he had in Philadelphia pretty much created that atmosphere of what they have in Kansas City. You get what I'm saying? Because if he didn't learn what he needed to learn in Philadelphia, he wouldn't have, you know, been able to create this, you know, this dynasty in Kansas City. You know, like I'm not saying that he would have got any quarterback to come out there and did it, but if you think about it, they were winning playoff games with Alex Smith.
But you also noticed that with Alex Smith, he couldn't win. He couldn't get to the top. It wasn't until he saw what he had in Pat Mahomes that made him go, okay, now I can actually take it.
Right. But that's what I'm saying. Like he was able to adjust, you know, like, and if you want to talk about like, I know Philly has been my example right now, but look at Howie Roseman, right? For example, they win a Super Bowl with Doug Peterson. They win with him. And Doug seems to end up losing the locker room for whatever reason. He has the, you know, the benefit of saying, you know what, this ain't working. I still got Jalen Hurts. I still got these guys that I can still have pillars of this team to build around. The defense still is good. I need to make a change. And look what happened. They end up going to the Super Bowl 2 times and winning one. Like, I'm not saying our Vikings can't do it, but I'm saying like this is the time where we're going to see how good Kevin O'Connell actually is.
Absolutely.
And that's what's going to keep me watching, because I know some people out there be like, they ain't winning no games, they ain't going to the playoffs. Why should I watch? I want to see how Kevin O'Connell fight. I want to see how they fight, bro. I really do, because I was telling Mike Sports Vibes this earlier this morning, man, and I'm gonna share this with you, and I want to know how you feel about it. Okay. So, I was 5 rows away from the bench last night. We were close, and the body language on the sideline was not great.
I remember when you texted that during the game. Yep.
It was not great. And I don't know if it was other content creators there or, you know, other people that were actually, you know, was keen on that. But I saw the fact of the matter, like these players don't mess with these coaches like that. Like when the offense came off the field, you know how they would be like slap hands with the coach or whatever. It was like last year. Yeah, they were like beeline.
Last year was different. Yeah,
they were like beeline to the seats. You know, like I seen Kevin O'Connell be on the island like so many times, just standing there like trying to figure some things out. I see Brian Flores like not like he engaged with his defense, but he wasn't really like, you know, like he wasn't the force. And yeah, I think the locker room is lost for a lot of different reasons. Like I think the locker room is lost, bro, because it's the process that's not working. You get what I'm saying? Like it's the way they're going about things that's pretty much the locker room as splits. And these are a couple of things why I feel like a locker room is not there. So I'm glad you brought up Moneyball. I'm glad you did. You be cooking sometimes, bro. For real, right? Because think about this, man. Cam Bynum's not here anymore, right? You shouldn't have paid Cam Bynum to stay. Am I saying by paying Cam Bynum to stay is because he was a leader on defense, right? He was a guy that kind of riled the soldiers up to go out there to battle, right? Another guy, a captain, you don't have anymore. Harrison Phillips. He was a guy that kind of rallied up the linebackers and the defensive line, right? So You don't
And
have
he
the
had the run stopping skill set that we need.
like I'm just saying, bro. It's like sometimes you can't lose people on the team that bring that ability to your roster. Like, and sometimes the intangibles outweigh. Like I'm a big Zimmer guy. Everybody knows that. But
Mhm.
Zimmer's the heartbeat of that defense was like it was Everson Griffin. It was Eric Kendricks and Anthony Barr. Like they were the heartbeat. Yeah, I believe it now, and I just feel like there's a lot of mistakes this team has made, man, and now they're like it's just coming to bite them. And I think like with that being gone, like the pillars of this team being gone, you know, on the sideline, then I think Kevin O'Connell is in a bad place with the team because the way he's handling injuries. And while
I
I'm
think
saying
frustration is boiling over now.
in this, and I feel like this though, bro. It's the he wants to wait until McCarthy is 100% to
You
play
know why that is though, right?
what?
There's a famous quote of his. So he said that he believes that teams fail young quarterbacks or rookie quarterbacks,
Yeah,
not the other way
yeah.
around.
I get that. I get
So
that.
I get why he wants to wait till he's 100% so that there is no excuse that anybody can take that the Vikings let him down, or if they would have, done this or that, then he wouldn't have had a chance, right? So I understand that, but at the same time, to go back to freaking fundamentals. Like you
That's
don't
not
need to go crazy.
that phrase is cute, but that's not why he's like he's lost the locker room. He's lost the locker
No,
room
no,
because
no, no,
yeah,
but that's what I mean. Like why he's keeping JJ from
yeah,
starting though.
but this is what I'm saying with this. He's rushed other players back from injury.
Mhm.
That's has gotten worse. So you don't think other guys see that? Christian Darrisaw should have not been playing so early within this season. They rushed him back. You had Brian O'Neill get rushed back last week to where he can't play, right? So if you're a player on that roster, you're telling me that outside of the quarterback, everybody else has to get rushed back, but you're going to be extremely patient with the quarterback. You have to keep it even across the
Mhm.
board. You get what I'm saying? Because look at what we're dealing with now. Christian Darrisaw does not look good. He does not look good at all. He basically limped in halftime all the way back, there. And then he came back in street clothes. Brian O'Neill did not play today. Well, did not play last night, right? But you're I'm not gonna say he's babying McCarthy, but you're giving McCarthy everything he needs to get ready so he can excel. You have to do the same thing for your linemen. You have to do the same thing for everybody else. That's why the locker room is split. You get what I'm saying? Like it's
Absolutely.
split that way. And then we see Carson Wentz is not healthy, right? We're
Mhm.
seeing McCarthy, we're seeing Wentz isn't healthy, right? Every play he comes out, he's wincing, he's grabbing something, like he's showing he's physically and maybe mentally hurt, but you keep trotting him out there. Players see that. So if you're telling them, hey, we gotta go out there and fight, and you're like, bro,
And
you
why are you
abusing
starting Carson?
why
I think also there's
you abusing guys, man. Like what
Mhm.
I can't get behind you right now. You get what I'm saying? And then you got Golden Boy over here,
Gets
who
all the extra time in the world when we
time
we don't
everybody
get
else
that.
is rushed.
I understand 1,000%.
That's why the locker room split.
Um, hello. But yes, no, definitely. I definitely co-sign on a lot of that, and I think that we're on the precipice, like you said. Now, Andy Reid had the benefit of being able to build the start building the dynasty until like year 19 or year 20,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So he had a lot of time, a lot of leeway from the Eagles, and then with the Chiefs, right? That's something that KOC doesn't have the luxury of. Let's be real. He's not going to get 10 years from this team to figure it out.
he
You know what I
could.
mean?
Talent.
To be like, oh, it's a possibility. Maybe they love him that much because the whole reporting in KOC we trust, regardless, he can do no wrong sort of thing.
Yeah,
Maybe he might get a 10-year shot at it. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe he goes the way of Danny Green and gets a long tenure with us, right? But to go along with what you said, Andy Reid had the benefit of over a long period of time making a ton of mistakes and then adjusting so that when he got to Kansas City, he was able to take those lessons and run with them, right?
Right.
Now, there's two, we're basically the way that I see it is that we're at a fork in the road, essentially. Right now, KOC has had, like, if we look at the fourth season that they, well, this is the fourth season, but like what he's done so far, he has basically speed run uh what a lot of coaches experience in 5, 7, maybe even 10 years, right?
Yeah.
So what happened in 2020 in his first year, right? With the no defense, basically his version of the 98 team. Let's be real. It's the poor man's 98 team, right? Where we had all offense, no defense, right? And then we got destroyed in the playoffs. So that's one massive lesson that a lot of coaches don't get to learn in year one, right? And
Right.
then everything that happened in that season, all the close games, all the drives that he messed up with being trying to be too cute and trying to force trick plays or creative plays, whatever, high IQ plays, whatever you want to say. But we saw a ton of those in year one.
So
Like,
he's still doing that now, though.
but at so much less than he did in year one. You got to
True.
admit, like, he does still try to force them here, but every once in a while, he gets it right. I'm thinking of the Oliver pass from Cam Akers, right? So it caught me off guard. I seen the wild card. I was like, oh my God, he's doing this on first down. He's just trying to find a cheeky way to get like a 1 or 2, 3 yards. So then the second down, he can, try to get it by third down, like a 3rd and 3 or something like that. Something super easy. So then he can open up the whole play. So I'm thinking, oh, KOC, what are you freaking doing? And then he caught me off guard, right? So it's like, so there's evidence that he is learning from the mistakes that he's made. And then last year culminates with almost every single game we had situations happen that happen in the playoffs, right? You shit the bed. Like, I'm thinking of the Jacksonville game, remember? Where we started and it was an ugly first half. Turnovers, penalties. We basically, like, we've seen that in the playoffs where a team comes out, the Patriots in the Super Bowl, right? 3 points or 6 points to their 24, 26 or whatever it was, right? And they had to face that adversity and find a way to win in the second half and then pull it off. We did that last year, right? Every single game. There was games where we started super strong. We got multiple turnovers. We looked like a juggernaut. And then the second half, we just couldn't figure it out how to like stop them from scoring, right? This year, we're seeing the opposite. We're a second half team, right? So there's all these different lessons that were learned essentially in a year that most teams experience in the playoffs 4, 5, 6 years in a row, right?
Early.
So that's why I say he's kind of like speed run a lot of lessons, right, in a short period of time. Which brings me to that what you said with Andy Reid, where he had the luxury to experience those and then learn from them and then adapt them when he got his perfect situation, right? So like to go back to where I feel like we're at a crossroads. So I feel why have confidence that going forward it's going to go in the right trajectory is because of all those learning experiences and because of the growth that we've seen, right?
Good,
But
man.
we're at a crossroads where if he doesn't learn and then actually translate into putting it into a practice, we're going to go down the opposite side because the opposite side is you crumble, you learn nothing, and you flame out, right?
Right.
So that's where he is right now, right? So like everything, like so up until this game, we've shown a ton of fight. We've kept games close
Yeah.
into the point where we can try to win. So that's a sign for me that last year, everything that we went through, we have learned and moved forward to this year. We're not completing comebacks, it's fine, right? But we're at the point now where we look this bad, and like I said, it's the darkest part before the dawn. So he's either going to show that we got another year or two of darkness of like having to move on or whatever, restructure, rebuild, commit to something, a completely different plan that we have now, or it's he's going to show in the rest of the season that he has learned and he's going to actually take the adversity, get the punch in the face, and instead of panicking and looking like a deer in headlights, start putting things together for the rest of the season so it shows that he is back on the right trajectory. I don't know what it is,
You
honestly.
you remember we had that talk about Pokemon? I know everybody out
Yeah.
there like these old dudes talking about Pokemon. All right. You remember you had to talk about Pokemon and Pikachu, and
Not
Raichu
evolving, but
and someone forcing it, with the stone to evolve the Pikachu early, and the Pikachu doesn't really understand all the benefits of being Pikachu, the speed, everything like that, and then he becomes Raichu and he can't
too
really
early.
he
And
becomes Raichu too early.
mhm. It could be. It could be, but also too, remember how I said Pikachu was the only guy that could not evolve, stay in the vision that
That he
he
was, yeah.
saw, because he knows that that's going to be better than even the evolved version of
The
himself.
evolved version. I
So
don't
we don't. That's what I'm saying. This
we
is
don't know.
a great dichotomy. That's a great example because it basically just explains what we were saying, right?
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
saying it could either be darkness for the next 2 years based on what's happened so
Mhm.
far, and he's just going to crumble, and the expectations that we're hoping him to meet someday are not going to happen,
Yeah.
and he's just going to be move. He's going to go back and be an OC somewhere or whatever before he gets another chance. Go through that whole roster thing that
Yeah,
coaches
but
go through,
then
or he's gonna realize that no, I am the Pikachu that freaking I have to stay this because my vision is that right, and I'm just gonna keep pushing forward. And then the lessons that I've learned push him to the stage where we're like, whoa, what the hell? He actually knew what he was thinking. Maybe he had something here, right? Like because and to go back to Moneyball, right?
yeah,
When they fielded that team together, everybody was like, "What the frick?" And now fast forward, every single team has adopted those philosophies one way or another.
right.
So are we in the stage of we're just trying something new that's just bound to fail? Or are we in the beginnings of witnessing something that has never been done before, that after the right amount of time and adversity faced or whatever, we get something that like from going forward, people are trying to copy us or
Yeah.
have some sort of variation of the things that we're doing. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I can't say for sure one way
I
or another.
I just think
It's difficult to
it's
put my
it's
hat on
it's
one.
it's
But
difficult to predict the future, but you always have to look at what examples you have, from the past of going forward. I don't I have a hard time believing in Kevin O'Connell going forward. And my thing about believing in O'Connell going forward is the development of this roster is not great. And I don't normally like to compare teams, but there are 31 examples of NFL teams, outside of ours that, deal with the same thing. And I think Mekhi Beckman for the Chargers, I think he went down like the first quarter of the game, didn't come
I
back,
thought
right?
I thought that was gonna even things out and make it
Yeah.
like, okay, now we might have a
And
50-50 again.
they just kept rolling. It didn't
Yeah.
even they just next guy up mentality. And it's like I'm questioning leadership on this coaching staff because you have a lot of bad beats that are really biting you right now to the point to where I don't think you can't escape it. And when I'm saying like you can't escape it, it's like you've done things to this roster to where win or lose, you have to stick with it. There's nothing you can do. You
Mhm.
know, there's nothing you can do to fix it. Like you
You
if you
can't just come up with a new
yeah,
philosophy and run with it now. It's just
right,
too late.
like
You're
it's too
pot
late.
committed.
Yeah,
You have no idea if that freaking
all
jack
in.
is coming on
Yeah,
the river or
right,
not, but we just saw the flop. You know what I
right.
mean? So we still got the turn, we still got the river. So
You
like we just have to
all
see what
in.
happens.
You
You
all in.
know, we're
And
all in.
I was telling
Absolutely.
Mike this earlier, and I was just like, I just think, oh, excuse me. I think the ego. ego on this coaching staff is killing this team. You have one guy in Kevin O'Connell to where he's been propped up for the past couple of seasons as being this quarterback whisperer, a guy that's great with quarterbacks. That's cool. That's cute. But you need to win with this guy. You get what I'm saying? Like, this is the guy you got to do it with. Now is nut cutting time with you actually developing the guy. And it's unfortunate that McCarthy got hurt because it happens. Then you got another guy on the defense is like, well, my defensive scheme is going to confuse everybody and we're going to be great. It's too much ego that's being led on this team. And that's going to it's ego in the draft. It's making the draft picks, whatever. And it's like, I just keep going back to the development. And I just believe in, like, it's going to be a hard fix. It might be just like you said, it might be a dark couple of seasons if they don't get it right. But in how I look at it, they're kind of like lined up to not be able to fix this on a quick fix. And I said this thing, man, last night, and I forgot who I told it to, bro. I miss Kirk Cousins, and it's not that I miss Kirk. It's not
the ability that he brought to the position. No, this is what I kept saying.
No, I'm not even talking about him as the player. Freddie, I look at stuff differently, right? That's why my podcast is called Skol State of Mind, because I'm always looking at stuff different. Kirk Cousins kept them from making stupid mistakes in free agency because his contract was so big to where you could not move it and you couldn't sign guys so much. You always had to sign guys that were for short-term deals. And it seems like the first moment they got rid of Kirk Cousins and they got rid of the big contract and they got this crazy money, they just say, they didn't know what to do with it. You get what I'm saying? Like, that's what I'm saying.
That's a really good point. Absolutely. Yeah, I never thought. For me, it was like, that's actually a really damn good point.
I'm not going to talk about his play because we know what Kirk is. But when Kirk had that 45 million cap hit, 30 million cap hit, you knew you had to be more strategic in the offseason. You knew that you had to hit
most of what you got and with what you could go and shop with.
When you got more money to play with, you're liable to take more risk with the money because you feel like you got more money on the back end you can play with. I miss Kirk Cousins' contract because I just feel like, think about it though, Mike.
It's interesting. Very interesting. I never thought about it like that.
And if people out there is like, here we go, want to bring Kirk back. No, listen to what I'm saying. I'm talking about the contract. The contract was so big to where you had to go out there and you
had to create run swings with everything.
Home run swings. And look at what they did. They didn't have to sign Allen and Hargrave. They could have just signed one, but they signed both. They didn't have to go out there and sign Fries and Kelly. They signed both. You get what I'm saying? Like, you didn't have to go out there and, give Josh Mattel his money and sign Murphy. You could have just signed Murphy and kept buying him. You get what I'm saying? Like that
absolutely. It's a different factor of team building and
exactly.
But to play devil's advocate though, if they don't make these mistakes, right? How would they learn to draft better? How would they learn to spend cap space better without these mistakes?
I just think like
sometimes this is where it comes back to like where the things that we're going through might be exactly what we need for us to evolve into the right version of ourselves, or not evolve into whatever analogy you want to take. But you know what I'm saying? But like to become the team that we need to be because of what we've experienced. Like I keep saying, like, I love the way this team fights, even though we didn't see it last night, even though at times we did fight. At times we did fight. Let's be real. We did come up with some stops, but we were flat when it came to our normal level of fighting. But I feel like that's all a byproduct of what we experienced last year. You know what I mean? So maybe the lessons that we have to learn and the experiences, the mistakes that we've made as a result are what's going to push us to become the team that we need to be, or it's going to make us go the complete opposite way. And then in the off season we're rebuilding, or next off season we're rebuilding. Right. I can't tell, but I think the confidence, because you said that you're pot committed. You're in this state of mind where it's like you're pot committed. You want to see how this turns out regardless, because you need to see one way or another and make a real assessment of it, right? Me, I gain my confidence because of the team looks more or less what I anticipated it to be. So I'm not upset that we have really low lows because I expected lows. But at the same time, um, the other aspect of where I get confidence from is that we don't have a full sample size to freaking really judge what we are right now.
Right.
Like, I when I went back, I was like, man, how, like, because last night I was kind of like a little bit pressed because I was like, did I really have too much of a bad read, or did I throw too much optimism into my assessments like I did last year?
You start, yeah.
So I started second guessing myself, right? So I went back and I pulled up all my research notes and stuff like that. And there was a moment where I was like, "Oh, okay. Week 7 through 9, I thought was going to be like the turmoil, like putting it together, and then from then on, the last few games would be the closest to as consistent as we can imagine this team to be." So I was like, so maybe I'm not too far off, but also I didn't predict the injuries, so that also throws a wrench in my preseason analysis a little bit too, right? So, but what I'm trying to say is that from 7, 8, 9, I expected us to start making the steps necessary to become consistent, to start looking like the team that I expected. And I said basically I circled last third, right? So I can't remember why I circled last third. Maybe so because like you know how it is to make content, right? You're constantly researching, watching videos, and it just becomes a flood of stuff. So I can't really remember, but uh, I want to believe that the reason that I put last third was that the last third of the season is going to tell me what I need to know, or the last third of the season is where we're going to look like I expect us to start next year. So I can't really tell for sure because that was my assessment and then my analysis going into the season, right? So and then I go, oh, maybe we are on the pace that I anticipated. I don't know. I didn't like I said, I before the season started, I said this is going to be a roller coaster. The early part of the season is going to be a lot of ups and downs. It's going to look at times amazing, and at times it's going to look like we should just give up. You know what I mean?
We saw
And it hasn't been more true after this week than I thought. You know what I mean? But mind you, in my defense, I just thought it was going to be situations where JJ was going to be too overwhelmed, or he's going to throw too many picks or fumble the ball. And because of those growing pains from him, it would just be too much to overcome and win. But
but then you would have accepted that because
so
you knew he was developing, and in
he's
the
a
next
rookie.
year he would have been
That
better.
that's why it kind of hits a little harder and it hurts a little bit more because we don't have that. We don't have that excuse or that comfort to be like a rookie's allowed to make those mistakes. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. Because we always in like I would say a part of the fan base is always in win now mode, and
Absolutely.
I believe like you, and this is like I'm a big basketball guy, so you can't always be in win now mode. That's why I hate LeBron James so much because he eroded my team to where they have no development stages and they're always doing things just to win now. And you can't build longevity like that. You can't always be, oh, we got to win now because you're mortgaging your future just to try to stay competitive, and you can't do that. And I just think this team has become, I'm not saying it's the same thing like my Lakers, but they have become so like, oh, we
They're
gotta win
making the
now.
same mistake.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying? Like, and they're like forcing the issue to where like they're not doing things the right way. And if we talk about quarterbacks, man, and I'm gonna go back to Kirk, excuse me, I think Kirk is the fork in the road with this team, and I think they botched it. I think they really botched it. And it's not the signing of Kirk Cousins. We all knew Kirk was going to leave. It's the
What we did
negligence.
after.
it's the negligence, and I'm gonna say negligence. It's the negligence combined with Kevin O'Connell's ego by not solidifying the backup quarterback when they had the chance to. You could have signed Sam Darnold to a longer deal than what you signed him for when he was available that offseason. Sam Darnold signed here for $10 million, and basically it was five plus flies, 10 million, I mean 5 million on the books, and then void year for the next year, right? You shouldn't have made it in your best interest to maybe give him more money and solidify him as the backup for the future and still draft the guy. And even if Sam didn't want to do that, that's fine. That's his prerogative. He wanted to try to figure things out. But if you look at that offseason, there was no guarantee that Sam was going to actually be the quarterback starting the team last year. It was talk that J.J. McCarthy would have been the he was supposed to be over, but then he got hurt. He got hurt, and then Sam had this a great year. So human nature would be for Sam to leave and take the best money possible because he never knows he's going to be a starting quarterback on his league again, or is going to be offered that type of money. I get that. So you botched that one.
But with him though, he wasn't available during the last part of for us to actually sign for multiple years at a cheap rate, because he was signed to the 49ers.
No, he was an outright free agent.
In the summer that we moved on from Kirk, though. But what I'm saying, but I thought, okay, maybe I misunderstood. I thought you meant that before we moved on from Kirk, that we should have signed him for like 3 years, or trade and sign him or something. That's what I was saying.
What I'm saying is this, though, right? I'm gonna back it up so you can understand it. So we knew Kirk was gonna leave, right? Kirk is the fork in the road. Kirk leaves, right? Sam Darnold comes available because his contract is up with San Francisco, right? He's a basically quote unquote, unprotected free agent, right? Instead of you giving him 1 year, you shouldn't have gave him 2. You get what I'm saying? You should have gave him 2 before he actually stepped foot on the field. You get what I'm saying? Because if you would have gave him 2 years, you knew you was going to draft a quarterback. You knew at the end of the day you was going to draft a quarterback. We just didn't know what it was going to be at the time. We didn't know if it was going to be McCarthy, Bo Nix, Michael Penix, whatever. But you could have solidified.
True. On your right, him, somebody else that was willing, because remember, the negotiations came out with Sam, and his freaking selling point was, we're going to make you the next Baker Mayfield.
Right.
So that he was ready. The reason he was basically ready to only sign for 1 year with someone, because he felt ready to kind of show that he had fixed himself enough, right? So maybe we could have gone with, I don't know who was available.
I'm not buying that, though. I'm not buying that, because the thing about it is, though, if you go back to that offseason, Sam had a possibility of not playing if J.J. McCarthy got hurt. You get what I'm saying? So if Sam doesn't even get on the field to actually play, he's never going to have that 14-win season. You get what I'm saying? Like, you can't say he's going to be the next Baker Mayfield, if he does not play. You get what? If McCarthy,
no, I get what you're saying. See, I don't know because they never give the details. They just show that that was kind of like a selling point for them. They don't really go. It's hard to say unless you're in the negotiation what they actually meant by that.
I just think they make things up that don't really fit the facts. I think Sam came here on a small deal, 1-year deal, with the hope of actually playing. Sam knew they were going to draft a quarterback, so we can get Sam out of here, right? So that happened. Then Daniel Jones gets cut. You bring him in on the practice squad, and then eventually you put him on the active roster for whatever games, right? You shouldn't have, when you got Daniel Jones off of waivers, you shouldn't have signed him for 2 seasons. You shouldn't have signed him for the season that we were already in last year, and for the next season, to where you don't even have to go into negotiations with another backup quarterback next year. Now, this is after you drafted McCarthy, right? This is after you drafted McCarthy, and I can understand, people being like, "Oh yeah, but he wanted to option to go somewhere else." That wasn't even on the table at that point, because you waited to the offseason. That's when all these other jobs became available. You get what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Don't like you take care of it now, and then if shit comes available, and then you're like, oh, maybe we gotta trade him because he doesn't want to be here. That's something different. But these guys kind of played themselves in the point of being, it's like they had no backup on the roster.
Yeah.
And that's the problem that I've always had with Carson
And
Wentz. And yeah,
with that being said, is that the reason why they're not playing Brosmer? Because they don't want him to be injured the rest of the season, and they actually want to develop into a long-term QB2?
I think so.
Maybe that's a lesson learned from that
Yeah,
mistake.
yeah, yes, I think it's lesson learned because now Brosmer is going to be on the roster for a long time. So you have
Mhm.
a backup guy who knows the system going forward, but they played themselves to the point of being like
At the time,
they
absolutely. No, I'm 1,000% on board with that take for
at the
sure.
time. Because if you remember, I remember 2017, right after the debacle against the Eagles, and then the Vikings went into a situation where they basically had no quarterback on the roster.
Mhm.
Teddy Bridgewater was going to be a free agent. We knew Sam Bradford knees could not
Mhm.
hold up, and we
Mhm.
we all knew that Case Keenum was just a backup that was riding on a high year. You get what I'm saying? Like they
Right.
had nobody on the roster. So the best bet that they could do was sign Kirk. You get what I'm saying? They were right there again last season, and they just kind of botched it, man. Like I just think that's it. They were botched it by ego because Kevin O'Connell's this quarterback whisperer, and he has all these examples of making this and making that. It's just like it's just been botched. It's like, bro, think about it like this though, man. Like if Kevin O'Connell did so well with Josh Dobbs, why he didn't resign here? Right? Why he didn't resign here? How come
Mhm.
Mullins is a backup? He's a straight up, he's a career backup. Why did he leave?
I think also that plays a factor that they don't mirror JJ McCarthy, right? Because if you have a backup that doesn't mirror your starter, you have to have a completely different game plan if he has to play, right? But if you have a guy that has the same skill set,
Yeah,
you don't have to change the plays. You don't have to. They just have to both know exactly what to
same
do
playbook
because they
anyway.
have the same
Any quarterback, yeah.
skill set, right?
I get that. I
So
get
that's why I think Brosmer was drafted because he
that.
looks to me like
Or
uh
signed because he was undrafted free agent.
yeah, like signed, but like that's why they signed him because he mirrors JJ. Similar style of game. He's the dual threat that can throw the ball,
Mm.
and so like when he has to step in, like the whole offense is gonna be like, oh crap, what do we do with him here? It's
We
like,
got
no, we're just
hey,
gonna
we
do the
got
same thing. We're gonna do the exact same thing. We
yeah.
might lean on to more of his strengths
Mhm.
instead of what we expect from JJ, but it's essentially the same thing, the same play calls, the same theory, the same strategy, right?
Right.
So that's why I think those guys didn't really fit the mold for what we needed for a backup. Now, to go back to how we were talking about how this team and like your analogy with the Lakers, where there's teams out there. We know them in every sport. There's a team out there that always mortgages their future to try to win now in hopes that they can steal one, right? The Rams a couple of years ago, you know
Still
what I
one.
mean?
Still one.
But
Yep.
exactly because they're just so desperate for the Super Bowl, right? Or the title or the pennant, whatever the world, whatever it is, right?
Whatever they're
And
fighting
then
for, yeah.
when you look at the Minnesota Vikings, we've been making that mistake, but we've tried the way that I looked at it is like we've been trying every which way to get a Super Bowl. We built up, we had the longest stretch of like peak or whatever was the original Purple People Eaters, right? We were
Mhm.
dominant for a decade then,
Right.
right? Or maybe 11 or 12 years, right? And
For sure.
then
Yes.
ever since then, we've tried to bring in the wily veteran quarterback that's proven to win on a team that's in the win now situation in
Mhm.
'09 with Brett Favre. Or was it '09 or 11?
Nine.
'09, '09. Yeah, because that was the first full year that I watched. But anyways, so
Double
we
digit
tried
start.
that. So we mortgaged the future to bring in a veteran that was supposed to bring it home, right? And it didn't work. And then we go to, well, maybe we just need to sign a younger quarterback that has all the intangibles, but other teams have given up on. So we got the freaking Sam Bradford era, Matt Castle era, right? And then we go, okay, no, we really need to commit to a freaking to a full rebuild and do it the long way. So let's draft as high of a quarterback as we can that has that potential to potentially become that team in the future. We draft Teddy Bridgewater, and then he snaps his knee. You know what I mean? Like, so then we get put back into the sense of like then the Case Keenum thing, and then all of a sudden we try different ways to win,
Mhm.
and it just keeps coming up close where we're mortgaging the future, right? And then they decide to go, let's bring in Kirk. Let's try to make the best out of what we have because we have a generational receiver. We have some stuff that we
Have a
might be able to steal one,
yeah.
and he's got that. He's the guy. Maybe the game that he needs to win in prime time or in the playoffs to erase that history that he had. Maybe it'll come with us, and maybe we'll steal one, and it didn't happen,
Mhm.
right? And then when I look at this, look at everything, I go, wait a second. They bring in Cam, they bring in KOC, they look to draft a top tier quarterback. To me, it was like, whoa, are we finally trying the long term strategy where
Mhm.
we do all the things
They
that we
messed
need to do to over 5, 6, 7 years, whatever it takes? Like, because every team is different, right? Like some
right.
teams click really quickly and they can build a dynasty, like, or not a dynasty, but build a championship caliber team and then try to go for it, right?
Right.
But we've been kind of snake bitten. You know what I mean? We've had bad situations happen where we bring KOC in and we try to get this thing. JJ McCarthy gets injured. Freaking the O line has been atrocious. Just injuries after injuries at the
That's
O
on Kevin
line.
O'Connell, bro.
Pardon?
That's on Kevin O'Connell. This is
But
my
what
theory.
I'm saying is,
Yeah.
what I'm trying to build a picture, right? So with all that being said, how maybe this is their attempt of trying to learn how not to freaking mortgage the future to try to win now,
Right.
and it's just not going right. And because they've never committed to this, they're making the mistakes that they are, right? And now we start seeing, like, now that, like, I never even really thought about it until you made that point about how we've never committed to bringing in a good backup. Now I go, wait, Max Brosmer might be that chance
That's
of
the
them trying to
commitment.
learn from that
That's the
mistake,
commitment now. Yeah.
right? So,
That's the commitment now.
and so they are trying to learn, but it's like when you don't know what you don't know, it's going to look extremely bad, right? So that's why I say it brings me back to the analogy of the crossroads, right? We're at a state where if we make the right decisions, we might veer down the way where we actually develop and build. We learn from our mistakes and build that team that we want to be. And it's not going to be on the timeline that we want it to be as fans, or it's going to fall apart and we're going to have to rebuild, move on, bring somebody new in, whatever it is, change the culture, change the GM, whatever it is, right? That's why, like, but then I go back to where because of my marketing background, right? Market research, it's like freaking the sample size is still too small to be able to know what this team truly is. Because let's play devil's advocate for both, right? Let's say we look this bad the rest of the season, right? The sample size at the very end is going to tell us exactly what is wrong with this team because we have a full 16 games to go. This is a problem. This is a problem. This is a problem. This is a problem. And right now we can point to things, but by the end of the season, we might have completely different problems that are the actual issue, right? Like the truth will show in a full sample size is what I'm trying to say.
So what do you think
Or
the biggest problem with this team?
well, um one second. I'll answer that in a
All
second.
right, go ahead.
Or then we could have the whole opposite thing, like maybe like the absolute worst case, we look like garbage and we have to rebuild at the end of the year, fire everybody, right? Or as the season goes on, things start to click, things start to actually work out that they imagine, and some of the lessons that we're griping about, they actually learn from them, and actually the rest of the season proves that they are learning from them and working towards the right way. And then we end up with a second half of the season where we're like, oh crap, maybe we did overreact, right? So there's no right now for me, it's like there's no telling one way or another because it's just not enough data to actually get some actual valuable information from yet. Because what happened, like the thing is that what happens if we lose 3 in a row and then we win out? Who was right? Are we freaking garbage because the next 3 games we look terrible, or the final games of the season because we won out? That's who we are, right? So
Oh, no.
that's what I'm saying. At the end of the season, we'll know. It's like, oh, injuries played a massive factor at the beginning of the season. This is what caused this, and then by the end, we started to put things together. So the problems were our health, this, or we lose out. It looks the worst that it can be. And then we go, this is a problem. The head coach is a problem. The play calling is a problem. The choices at running back's a problem. The offensive line, the health, the rushing players back. Like we'll be able to actually see what the real problems are because we're only just seeing like mirages of what it could be. And we're running with that, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Because I'm looking at it is when I analyze data, right? And when I analyze that, the sample size matters, right? That's why when they put up statistics in the middle of the game, they have to put at the end minimum 12 starts, minimum 25, minimum 4 seasons or whatever it is to justify the stat that they're putting up there, right? Because if you don't have the right sample size, Mike White should have been a franchise guy after those first 2 games that he played, right?
Right.
So that's why I'm like, it's so hard to tell. Like it's hard for me to say one way or another because of that background in my education and in work to make me go, I the Viking fan inside me wants to just lose it and just say blow it up and just rage and rant and freaking just throw shade at everybody. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not immune to that. Okay. Just because I try to be as um optimistic or realistic as I can or objective as I can doesn't mean that internally I don't feel like everybody else does. I just put it to bed for the reasons that I'm saying, right? So I don't know. It's really hard to tell, but I agree with like this is why I think it's really hard to tell because I agree with literally everything that you said
Yeah.
because I'm like that's all plausible. I can't say no, that's not it. But then I think of all the other things that I mentioned and I'm like, but that's also plausible. It's like what is it? You know what I mean? So this is the thing this is the crossroads that we're at where like I said, it's the storm, like the rain is always the hardest before the storm breaks. The freaking it's all the night is always the darkest before dawn breaks, right? So what is it?
It
So
I
I'm frustrated as
in
well.
my
Okay.
opinion, I just think like I just really feel that when you do not build the team, when I'm saying team building, you gotta have a good combination of young players in development and starters that are playing right now. And I just really think that the Vikings have no development on this roster. And that's what's starting to really, really hurt this team because when you have injuries like they have this season, I mean, it's unfortunate, but you don't have, I'm not saying backups are going to come in and be really beaming. That doesn't happen all the time. But you don't know how to coach for the guys that you currently have to play with, and you don't have any young guys that can take those spots, and be like, okay, cool, we're gonna throw this guy out here. Dang, he's guy can actually really play. He's in the second season. We might have to give him more playing time. We don't have that option on this team. And I remember we had the conversation, right? And you asked me like what was my gripe with Brian Flores. So it took me some time to actually think about it. My biggest gripe with Brian Flores is this is I believe in bodies, right? And what I'm saying is I believe in bodies is I understand that Lewis Seen was not working. I understand that Makai Blackman wasn't being what Brian Flores wanted. But at the end of the day, they were bodies. You get what I'm saying? They were bodies on cost effective rookie contracts. You replace those bodies that were cost effective, that were young guys, and you got expensive fast. And now the guy that you got expensive with they can't play. I'm not saying that Brian Murphy is not a starting caliber corner, but if you look at this roster, they went into the season with only 4 cornerbacks this year. They had Isaiah Rodgers, Brian Murphy, Dwight McLaughlin, and Jeff Okudah, right? The
Mhm.
only guy that was actually young development on that, on that team was the Dwight McLaughlin, and he's not really that good. He was a undrafted free agent at best. You had a third round pick in Mekhi Blackman that you traded away for nothing, right? You had a second round pick in Andrew Booth that you traded away for nothing. And I'm not saying these guys were going to actually be Pro Bowlers, but at the same time, Brian Flores never believed in these guys enough to throw them out there and actually get experience. Now we always sit here and we talk about, you know, JJ McCarthy, where hey, we just need him to start playing so we can kind of figure some things out. That's what I believe defense is. I remember when Xavier Rhodes was drafted, he was drafted, by the coaching staff by Leslie Frazier, basically, right? And he was horrible. He was it seemed like either once or twice every game he had a pass interference. And if he didn't have a pass interference, he played like he was hurt, right?
Mhm.
And Zimmer comes in here and he develops him and Trey Waynes into great corners. I just feel like Brian Flores doesn't have the patience to develop guys and be like, all right, cool, I got this next guy up. And I know people out there are going to be like, oh, what about Ivan Pace? I've always said Ivan Pace was trash. And the reason why I said Ivan Pace was trash is because I knew he was limited to what he was doing. He was making splash plays by basically just rushing the quarterback, doing the blitz, but he never was asked to do any kind of real linebacker duties. And when he had to go back and start doing real linebacker duties, he ended up getting benched. Like, so to answer your question, like that was my thing. I just always felt like, why isn't he playing these guys? Why are we cutting these young guys on this roster to where we're going to have to replace them with older players and more expensive contracts, and we still don't know what these guys are? You get what I'm saying? Like,
Mhm.
like I just hate that because I think players get ruined, by bad coaches a lot. Kevin O'Connell can say like, "Oh yeah, about the quarterback situation." I think we've ruined a lot of players, man. And the reason why some of these, our offense and defense is not excelling to where it need to be is because you got rid of guys that you shouldn't have developed. You
Mhm.
got rid of Ed Ingram that wasn't really that bad. And what did you replace Ed
I
Ingram
was
with?
defending Ed all last season, man. That
Yeah,
was, like, the only one I felt like at
yeah.
times.
I was man, I used to get man, people used to bash me for that. But think about that though, bro. He would have been in his third or fourth season, a cost-effective contract, right? And
Mhm.
you traded that away, and then you got expensive and you got worse.
Mhm.
Like, that's what we have.
As of right now, that's what it looks like for
Yeah, as
sure,
of
yeah.
right now, that's what it looks like. Like you got worse. And if we talk about the defense, with the cornerbacks and the safeties, it's like, okay, Cam Bynum shouldn't have been resigned. Yes, Metellus is not that great, but then you had to beg Harrison Smith to come back, and he can't play anymore. So now you have more money allocated, and he got worse. And this is what I go back to Lewis Seen, and I'm gonna be a Lewis Seen apologist forever. And I'm happy he got a Super Bowl because I think the kid can actually play. There was a game in the preseason where Brian Flores allowed Lewis Seen to just read and react, and he played well. He played phenomenal, right? You allowed Harrison Smith to be in this kid's development way. Like you did that. You never said Harrison Smith is basically done. I
Mhm.
need to start prepping this guy. You could never play Harrison Smith and Lewis Seen at the same time because they're basically two of the same type guys. I never felt Lewis Seen wasn't smart. I just felt you got guys playing out of position. I don't believe that Dallas Turner should be playing the outside. He should be rushing the quarterback from the inside. He needs to be the other inside linebacker. But Brian Flores wants him on the outside. Like there's a lot of these things like I'm seeing, bro. And this team is old and expensive, fast. How you said that Kevin O'Connell accelerated his development by getting all these wins early, they made this team old in one season, one off season, bro. This
It's
this
like
is
that remnants of that mortgaging your future
yeah,
for your chances now. You know what I mean? And doesn't make sense in hindsight when you have a rookie quarterback starting to mortgage your future because realistically, it's not going to happen,
yeah.
right? I don't think ever in NFL history a rookie has ever won the Super Bowl. You
Came
know what I
close.
mean?
One came close. One came close.
Who was
That was Ben Roethlisberger. He came,
Oh, yes. Yes, that's right, Ben. Yeah,
and
and then he had immediate success in year 2, he won
then
it,
they
right?
then they won the next year.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
but
He was a unique he was a unicorn, though, at the
yeah,
same
but he wasn't the quarterback he was at the end of his career that he was the first of his career.
No, but he started as a game manager, and he
Yeah,
slowly I remember when Ben Roethlisberger like,
that
I was
was
just starting to
crazy.
watch football then, I'd be like, man, this guy sucks. He barely throws for
Uh,
200 yards
yeah,
every freaking game, like 180, 197. Sometimes you see 211, 220, and I'm like, man, this guy freaking sucks.
they
Like,
ran the
why
ball
doesn't he throw
crazy.
the ball like I'm watching like Carson Palmer throw
Yeah,
or
yeah,
Peyton Manning throw? And I'm like,
yeah.
because I had such a skewed view because
He got
I
he
didn't
got
know
the
enough about
ball.
I didn't have a football eye yet. I can honestly say I didn't then. So I was just like, what the hell? And then now when I look back at his career and I look at it with a different eye, I'm like, wow, like he did essentially followed the Brady path. You know what
Yeah,
I mean? He became a
because
game
Brady
manager
wasn't great
first
either at
and
the
then
career.
slowly developed the skill sets that he needed in order to play for as long as he did and to become the guy that he needed to be.
But
And
Fred, look at
it
what
was
look at what they had on those teams, right? Those Bill Cowher teams with Big Ben had a great defense and they had a good running game. Those teams that Brady was on had a great defense and a consistent running game,
mhm.
right? Like it shows if you have that, you can give your rookie quarterback, your young quarterback time to develop. Because if you look at that, like look at that defense in New England was crazy. Richard Seymour, Vincent Wilford, Rodney Harrison. You feel
Mhm.
me? Like they
Yeah.
were, they were nuts. So, like, and then those Pittsburgh teams, you had Willie Parker, you had Jerome Bettis before he retired. Like you had guys, man, that could prop up, the young quarterback to where he didn't have to do so much. That's what the Vikings should have did, but
And
they didn't. They
on
went the wrong
paper, it
way.
looked like that though. Going into the season before anything was
It
played,
looked
on
like it looked
paper, it
like
looked like
it.
it. That's
It,
where I
it
think a lot of people's expectations came from,
yeah,
where it was like, "Oh, we can carry a rookie to the Super Bowl. Maybe we can get lucky," sort of thing. And I'm like, I remember thinking, we can maybe squeeze into the playoffs and lose one playoff game. And to me, it was like that's a win because JJ will at least get to see playoff. Will
what it
have
looks
playoff
like.
like what it
Yeah,
looks like that different speed,
yeah,
the different pressure, the anxiety for getting ready to it, right? So then in year 2 he can take a real step. And but yeah, it's
it's crazy.
hold
They went the
on.
wrong way, man.
Absolutely. And I just don't know, like the thing is that like all these mistakes we could also be sitting here like a year from now or 2 years from now going into the season. And because we made these mistakes now, preseason or not in the off season, in the draft, we get the right players that fill in the right spots. We get all these. We avoid all these mistakes, and then in the playoffs we get injured. And because we've experienced this now, we know, oh man, okay, we have to make these adjustments quicker and do these things, right? So that's the optimist of me kind of speaking, because this is what I say. I can argue both sides. I can
Yeah,
take your side and go, yes, this is a complete failure. We keep making mistakes, and it's only going to get worse because we keep doubling down on the same mistakes over and over and over again. And then I go, but then I can also say, you know, the complete opposites in like I just said, meant like all these are the lessons that we need so that when the time comes, we've gotten all that experience out of the way. And because of that, we don't mess up then. But right now, it's too early in the season to really know until the end, right? So
we gotta play it
um
out. We gotta.
I just realized I missed so many freaking chats because you
Hey,
made such great points, and I was going with them.
hey,
And
look at this. Look at this, bro. I just saw this on my Twitter feed.
what's up?
Garrett Bradbury is the third highest graded center in pass pro in the NFL this season. 0 penalties and 0 sacks allowed.
I did look into both Ingram, and Ingram is a highly rated guard, but where Bradbury is good on one side, he's bad at run stopping.
He's always been that.
So I think he's in like the low teens for overall centers, which is better than what we got. You know what I mean?
He's actually playing, and he was less expensive than Ryan Kelly. That's what I'm saying, bro. It's
And
like,
you know what? Last year, everybody was complaining about re-signing Garrett Bradbury, and I kept saying, guys,
keep him.
if you look at the last year, a lot of the criticism was you're too small, blah blah blah. And then
Yep.
I said he did all the right things for this team. He went and put on like 40, 50 pounds,
Mm-hmm.
and he did the things that earned him the next contract. So I was like, let him freaking play and see what happens.
See what
You know?
happens.
Because he's earned that, right? And now we're not reaping the benefits of all that work that he did because we gave up on him too soon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like it's that same recurring mistake where it's like you guys, you got the thing is what chaps me about everything that we talked about is that we commit like 4 years ago to start and build the right way. We
Yep.
get ourselves an offensive coach. We get a good defensive coordinator in year 2. We get generational talents, and then we trade up to get a lottery pick quarterback. It seems like we finally made the turn, and we're going to commit to this strategy now. And then we make the same freaking mistakes. You know, we've mortgaged our future. It's like, wait. When you're trying to build a freaking, through the draft and become the team the long way, you can't make these mistakes. You know what I mean? So it's like the old habits are kind of rearing their head still, which, you know what I mean? Like some of them, those mistakes, I guess, had to be made last couple years, right? Bringing in Van Ginkel, bringing in Blake Cashman because of the situation that we're in. So it kind of made sense then. But like you said, the Kirk Cousins contract was holding them back from truly making the mistakes that they made this year.
Yeah.
But like
It was keeping them in check.
when you think about it, do you want to teach someone to fish or do you want to just give them a bunch of fish?
You gotta teach them to fish because if you give
So
them a bunch of fish, they're gonna always keep asking for you.
so Kirk Cousins the fish in this situation.
But I believe it. But I believe in this one. I'm trying to think about you can't feed a hungry dog.
True. Yes. But but the point of I'm also making is
that same hungry dog is gonna eat you alive.
yeah, but to get that dog to be where it's at, there's a lot of other mistakes that you got to get to before, you know what I mean? You face that hungry dog, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
my point is that
I think the hungry dog isn't. I think the hungry dog analogy isn't the players. I think the hungry dog is Kevin O'Connell.
could very well be. And like in my analogy, Kirk Cousins is the fish
Yeah.
because we didn't choose then to be like, you know what? Let's trade up, let's do whatever we can, and let's build the right way.
You're gonna get
Right?
knowledge when we get on here, man.
No, what we did is we went with Kirk. You know what I mean? So it's like they decide,
we get on
they
together.
decide we're gonna freaking try to build a long-term freaking team and do it the right way, but their old habits get the better of them, and then they get the fish, which totally prevents them from making the mistakes that we've made this year, and now we're suffering because of those. And it's like this better be a freaking wake-up call to you guys to be like, hey, this next year or whatever you got to do between now and then, you better start looking at freaking your scouting crew and being like, you guys need to freaking step up your game. You guys need to go out and clean house and be sellers at the trade deadline and try to bring in some picks and potentially identify, do we move on from Jordan Addison? Do we move on from certain guys to be able to get the picks in order to get back on track in, like, I'm not saying that's just an example. I don't know. We can debate who that player could be, but what I'm saying is someone that's valuable enough to get good trade assets for, or like good draft assets for.
Let me ask you this though, and I want you to be completely honest with you, right now. I just wanted to do the
I need
first
to
thing
get,
that comes to mind.
mhm,
The
we need
first
to
thing,
get back. I need to get caught up with this freaking chat.
yeah,
I feel so bad. I'm so sorry, guys. And once we get this next
yeah.
point out, we'll go through the chat because everybody's been typing, and I'm so sorry. That's my bad.
So we always throw the analogy of them getting draft picks. Do you believe that they can actually play those draft picks and develop them?
The thing is that unless we give them the opportunity to do it and then make
They
mistakes
don't
during that, they're not going to learn how to do it,
know how to do it. Okay, let's get to the chat.
right?
That's all I asked.
So, like, it's one of those things. It's like, man, it's frustrating because we make so many good decisions when it comes to building the right way. So, for example, we move on from Sam, right? I don't care what anybody says. Moving
That's
on
right.
from Sam is the right move
Right.
because when we get to the playoffs this year, he might win a playoff game against a flawed team if he's a wild card team, because most likely they're going to come in as a wild card team, so they might be able to beat another flawed wild card team. But when they face the real competition of the top echelon of the league, they're going to get smoked because
Oh,
Sam cannot play under pressure. His confidence is that bad that it's going to take multiple attempts at the playoffs before he gets right to where we can go, okay, he's no longer seeing ghosts. He's got enough confidence to push him through bad situations, and he's not going to totally collapse anymore. It's a possibility, but he's more on the opposite side of that storyline now, where he can elevate and be the reason we win, where I think this year and next year he's going to be the reason they lose, especially against a team that's going to be able to put it on them hard, just like the Rams did, right? Just how the Lions did last year, right? Once he faces a team like that can really put it to him, that's where we're going to see what he's made of. And I think has taken a small step forward this year, will take a small step forward this year, and then a bigger step next year. And then going forward, that's when we're going to be like, Sam is actually a guy that can win in the postseason, because I don't think he's there yet. And then for us to say, oh, we should have kept Sam, if only if we had picked him up in your situation where we picked him up for 2 years and it was going to be cheap
early.
for us,
Yeah, cheaper.
that makes sense. But
Yeah, yeah.
to
I'm
keep
not saying
Sam,
after the 14-win season. I'm saying before that even
that's
happened.
what I'm saying. In
Yeah.
that situation, yes, if that would have happened, but the way that it's going to go down, what happens if we do keep him and then he gets blown up in the playoffs again? How mad? Like I was mad that he melted down in the last season. How much more mad would you be this year if he melted down in the postseason? If we had Sam, right? It would be like, why did we waste another freaking year to get the exact same result? Why have we not learned anything? Right? So, you know what I mean? And then we did everything to get to the point where we got on a rookie scale quarterback. And then you go and mortgage the future to freaking to go back to old mistakes, and you're right. That freaking the fish in freaking in Kirk Cousins prevented them from making these mistakes,
and
right?
this is why
So they
Kevin
didn't learn how to fish.
Yeah.
Now they're learning how to fish, and they freaking suck, bro. Like, I feel like I could go fishing better than this team can right now. But just to kind of go back on the points, let's get back on
go to
the
the
chat. All right, let's go back here because we've got a bunch of people that have joined. T-Bass, Skol, holy crap, it's been a whole bunch. So April was the last one. So Mav Henry says, in your opinion, do you think we should have hired Harbaugh? You want
No,
to take that one first?
no. I think Harbaugh was great on paper, but I just think about Harbaugh's like shelf life. Like Harbaugh, he could have did good here, but I don't think he would have had longevity, outside of 3-4 seasons. And I understand like what Harbaugh is and what he's doing now. Like it's great, but we gotta just always think about it like it's hindsight 2020. Like
He's
I
got a
don't.
he's got a finite window, right? Because what we've seen in
Yeah,
college, what we've seen with the 49ers,
hell
if he
yeah,
doesn't break through, he doesn't do it. And then he
yeah,
has to bail and go somewhere
right,
else. And he's got that 3-4 year. And if he doesn't
yeah.
do it, he moves on.
And then
So
he
that's a
seems to
good take.
he seemed to have issues with management a lot when he doesn't really get what he wants
Mhm.
or be able to do
He's
what he
old
wants
school.
to do. Yeah, he's
He's
old school. Like, I'm not saying
so
he's a bad coach. Like, good for San Diego. Like, good for them. And sorry guys, if you I know they don't play in San Diego anymore, but I'm from California. They will
For
always
sure.
be the San Diego Chargers with us. So
Yeah.
he's good with San Diego. So I mean, it's good, but I'm just not. I just think like I'm gonna throw a PSA for Viking fans. We gotta always stop looking at it like, oh, we should,
Revisionist history.
yeah, revisionist history. Like it's not that. Like I think the right move was Kevin O'Connell. It's just that Kevin O'Connell has adversity now that he needs to get over, and we need to be on the front step to actually see what he's gonna do.
Absolutely. I'm going to take a different side. I'm going to say that, well, first, I'm going to preface it by saying I'm old school. So that's the type of coach that I would respond to. So I was all for the Jim Harbaugh signing. But when I look at the snapshot of that time, right, our team was freaking done with that type of leader.
Yeah,
Zimmer was that guy as
yeah,
well. And so if he had already lost the locker room with that style, and then we brought a Mike Zimmer 2.0, not because of the talent or their skill set, but in the same leadership, in the same way that he deals with players, we wouldn't have regained our locker room
it'd have
until
been
he was gone,
until it
potentially, right? We might have had to completely clean house so that all those guys that just have that bad taste in them in their mouth were completely gone, and we'd have to start 1,000% from scratch.
over again. Yeah,
So what do we get? We might have been further behind
and where we are.
than where we are now, right? So I don't think it's if I was just to say my own way of liking coaches and what I would have responded to, I wanted Harbaugh. But when I look at it in what the team was actually experiencing at the time, it was a bad decision to hire him. So I'm happy that we moved on to an offensive minded coach because they were done with that. The defensive minded coach, that hard ass, that MJ era type leader was not our players weren't responding then. So we would have gone really low at that point, right? But we will never know, right? So just to
Yeah,
answer your answer, Mav, Six have been talking. We were talking about you know, he wants to make sure that if we do fire someone, it's going to be the GM, and then he hopes to bring Lewis Reddick in. I get it. Lewis Reddick, he's a heck of a freaking football mind and whatnot, right? So, and player. Um, let's see here. He's so Matt also says so if someone gets hurt, we are cooked either way. That's the situation that we're in because we
that's what I said. Yeah,
mortgaged our future for it,
you have
right?
no you have no development behind these other players.
Skolaholic says Quasi and overrated KOC is finally getting exposed. He also said we ain't winning anything this year. KOC play calling sucks. Essentially, and the Minnesota media is too soft. I
Can't agree.
can't disagree with your opinion, my friend. And then we have no talent on defense because our GM can't draft. And I think we've also touched base a little bit on some of the conversations that might have kind of semi answered because we were talking about, you know, teaching someone to fish versus giving them a fish. And, you know, if he doesn't draft players and he continues to sign free agent and make the team expensive, we're not only making the cardinal mistake of mortgaging our future, but he's not getting the tangible experience in drafting players to know the next year how to draft better and the next year to draft better. So it kind of is like this kind of like snowball effect, right? So that is just a whole bunch of mistakes. Brady, Wentz is horrible. I've been saying that since the beginning, but
That's
he's
why
a great QB too. That's about it.
16's in 6 years for a reason.
Exactly. Me and you were the ones that were saying like, why would we freaking roll with Carson Wentz 16
People
and
were
6
saying
years?
that like, oh, if he gives us the best option, no, no,
No,
no,
he
no.
doesn't.
The reason why he's available.
And then T-Bass says this team is far from championship caliber, but that's his opinion. I don't think that even going into the season, I think that we were championship caliber. But what I would say is that this year, depending on what we learn and how we respond, will be the beginnings of developing championship caliber. Because I think the championship caliber takes years to develop, and
Yeah,
then
it's not a
most
pop.
of it comes from the playoff experiences that you
Right.
get. So
No,
we
no
don't
doubt.
have that. So I wouldn't say that we have championship caliber in the slightest yet, but I'm hopeful that we will in the future. T-Bass says first huge mistake they made hiring a rookie head coach and a rookie GM. That never happens.
It does happen because the Philadelphia Eagles did that with Howie Roseman and Doug Peterson, and they won the Super Bowl.
There you
And
go.
then Howie fired Doug and hired the current coach right now and went back to 2 Super Bowls. So
And then he also said, rebuild, move on very soon. And, it's easy to say right now because we don't have the full scope, right? If, like I say, at the end of the year, it is as bad as it was last week or last night, and it continues to look that bad, yes, absolutely. I feel like that's the only option at that point. We have to do some drastic changes in order to right the ship. But until those full 16 games go, I just can't say that just yet. But what I do want them to do is I want them to be moving on from some players and trying to pick up draft picks for sure, so that we have something to look forward to going forward. Because if we don't do that, we're just making the same mistake over and over again.
Yes, keep it moving in the chat.
And then absolutely no foundation. You build through your offense and defensive lines. And we try to do that. We just totally swung and missed. Mark, last night's game down, it may be the game that Kevin O'Connell lost the locker room.
He did lose.
Maybe not. It might just
We're
be
gonna see what happens in the next couple of games.
Yeah, like at the very end of the season, they might be stronger because of it. We have no idea. So could very well be, but it could also be the game that turned things around when it came to their approach to facing this adversity, right? Mike, talking that talk, we try, brother. We try. T-Bass says, I have a question for both of you. Name Kevin O'Connell's signature win. I see that you answered it here.
He
And
hasn't had.
I think there's some candidates for that. Because there was some wins in his first year where
But how would they?
Pardon?
How would they follow? I thought about it too because I know what games you're going to say. The Buffalo win was great.
The Bills game,
the Indianapolis comeback game was great, but I can't give it a signature win because they followed it with dud the next week.
Yeah, but it like, to me, wait, how do you define a signature win then? Because I'm thinking it's like
a signature win. It's the start of the boulder. It's the start of the rock going down down. It builds the momentum. You can't have a big win and then the next week you have a no-show. That means that win it wasn't a big win. You just got lucky, basically. Like that's just how I look at it. He hasn't had the point to where he has a big win and followed it with the consistency. Like I think the Buffalo Bills game, that game was great. That was one of the best games I ever seen in football, right?
That was a great game.
And then I think we lose like 40 something to like 3 against Dallas. Like
we haven't learned how to deal with the emotional roller coaster after a crazy high or emotion filled win. Even before KOC, right, with the Minneapolis Miracle game, we came out flat the next week, right? So it's just something that you have to learn so that you can develop championship pedigree, right? For me, the way that I look at a signature win is more, maybe I just have the wrong definition. Is maybe I'm looking at it. It's like a game that kind of highlights your highest potential, like what you could be once it all comes together, right? So I'm thinking the Indianapolis game, the Bills game, and then there were a handful of games last year where, like I said, there were so many games that were like playoff like situations where you only see that stuff happen in the comeback win in the playoffs, right? And where either both teams did really, really well, and we ended up just being able to do all the right things at the right times to win, or we crap the bed like the Patriots against the Falcons, and then we turn it around and actually complete the comeback, right? So there's things, but I think that my definition doesn't align with what I think you guys mean. So if we go with that, I don't know if we do, but
he ain't had one. That's my thing. Like he ain't had
I
one
don't know. Maybe the Giants game, because everybody going into the season was like, we're gonna win one game.
with
You
the
know what I
Giants game
mean?
last
So
year.
the first game of the season.
Yeah,
In that regard, in the way
and
that
then they
you
followed it.
that you guys say it,
I think they
because
followed it and then they beat Frisco the next week. So
exactly.
I mean, it's
So maybe this. See, that's what I'm
no,
saying. So like
nah,
it was
I'm
like,
not giving it to him.
or the Frisco game might even be the game. So like I don't know, like because I had a different perspective of what a signature win game is, but yeah, I think so. So signature game uh, means the game that kind of proved that you turned the corner. Then
Yeah, but that's my thing. Like you didn't turn the corner because you lost the next week.
yeah, that's why I say the Giants game, because then we went on a 5-game winning streak, right?
Yeah,
When
that's
a lot
true.
of people thought we would start 0 and 5.
Yeah, I'd give that, but I wouldn't even say that's a signature win because the Giants were not good. That was just that was the team you played against the playoffs last week, the prior year, and you wanted to get some get back. And I can't count
Then
that.
that's what I'm saying. Maybe it's the 49ers game, because it was like that
Yeah,
was just a thing because we ended up having a great
you
start
won
to
that.
the
Yeah,
season,
yeah.
right? So I
You were
don't know. We didn't totally turn the corner, so then technically no, but we've had a lot of like flashes of what KOC can become,
right.
which is just like, this is why I say he's freaking speed running what most coaches learn in 10 years. He's trying to learn it in freaking 3 or 4, right?
Can't,
So I don't know going forward, but maybe not. Um, T-Bass says, I've been watching football long enough. I know a donkey when I see one.
okay.
Maybe so, but I've also been watching football and just sports in general when I've seen teams be at this low point and then turn around and become the thing that nobody expected to, right? So two things can be true, and it could be, either opinion could be proven right over the next 10 game or maybe a couple seasons, right? So the jury is still out, but I respect the opinion. This is from when we were talking about, we were hardly upset because he didn't think the team was gonna be like that. Let's see here. That's for sure. It's kind of hard to tell because what we were talking about at the
And
time.
and Kobe King just got picked up by the New York Jets.
There
So
you go.
that's another draft pick we just lost that couldn't get on the field under Brian Flores. I'm telling you,
Hmm.
I had this conversation.
Um, most of these free agent signings were players on the team that were
Yeah,
currently on didn't want.
they were
Or
cut.
didn't want, okay.
They were cut.
They were on a team that they were currently on, or the team didn't want them. I get what you're saying.
They were cut.
And then as a Chicago Cubs fan, this is the same crap that I went through with them when the Tribune company owned all of them. All they look is profit. Winning is the afterthought. Hey,
I
I
don't
can
think
actually talk to that because I grew up a Toronto Maple Leafs fan, and that is definitely what it was like when the teachers union owned them, because they only cared that they're like, hey, well, we sell out every game even if we lose, so they never
teachers union
cared to build a
owned them.
team. Hmm?
The teachers union owned them.
Yeah, the teachers union used to own the Maple Leafs, and they were like the majority stakeholder. And I'm pretty sure that we've moved on from them, but that's why we always used to bring these old washed up guys that used to be big names, because they would fill seats and all they cared was selling tickets and merchandise
They
rather
was
than
getting paid
actually
off
winning.
the back end. Yes,
And
sir.
now, and then it was so bad. T-Bass, are you still a Cubs fan? Because I gave up on hockey in general because of that. I gave up on the Maple Leafs, and then because I had witnessed Jonathan Taves in the World Juniors and in the Olympics and stuff, just doing amazing. I was like, I became a Chicago Blackhawks fan for like 1 or 2 seasons, and then when they won their cup, I kind of was like, oh, I'm done with hockey. And then around the same time that I got into football, I just said goodbye to hockey, and I said the Maple Leafs literally destroyed my love for hockey because of that fact
I
that
don't
they
think
just
the
care
Vikings are
about.
that. I don't think the Vikings are
No,
that.
I don't think we're that, but I think we're a team that continues to try to find ways to win, and the fact that they tried different things instead of the same thing over and over just kind of shows, right?
Yeah, let's keep it moving in the chat because I gotta get off soon.
All right, let's go down. Because man, we got a lot. Oh, Zoe's in the building. What up, Zoe?
Angry man Zoe.
It's all good, man. It's all good. Clark says KOC and B Flow gotta figure it out.
They got to.
Absolutely.
He said that, yeah.
And these come on, because we were just talking about, I think Buffalo Bills was pure luck, and how many times do they fumble on a kneel down?
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes luck has to play a factor,
Luck
like if
is
you look at that Super Bowl win for the Patriots, right? Matt Ryan had to be as garbage as he is for him to make the mistakes for them to keep him in the shot, right? Luck is always a factor in any game, but absolutely. And then Zoe says, "Man, this team is soft. KOC did his job. We need a head coach job. We need a new head coach to finish the job he can't do and won't." So, yeah, I can't be upset with anybody because, like I said multiple times, I can't not see, like, whichever side that you're on, it's plausible.
Yeah, it
So,
is.
I'm not gonna be like, no, I can't. This is the first time of the season where I can't say, guys, relax. There's still, like, because I can go now. Now there's too much for me to ignore. So where, like, I can understand both sides equally, but my background is like, I have to just wait for the full sample size to get a real assessment. Like I kept telling people that would ask me every single time we did a live stream or every single time I did a video, oh, what do you think of Sam Darnold? Is he fixed? Is he this? And I'm like, I don't know, because the full season hasn't happened. What I suspected is that he elevated his floor, but his ceiling is still the same, and that he's still flawed with his confidence when it really counts.
Yo, so we're
And
gonna
then that's what happened. So I was like, oh, okay, so he is what he is. But I think we're 2 hours just talking because of what you got, like,
later too. So I got some shit. He just asked
absolutely.
that.
I'm still fasting, so I haven't eaten anything.
Oh, how long?
I still sick. So last night around 8 o'clock.
So okay.
I try to fast every single day, minimum 4 o'clock or like 3:30, like right before my first live of the day, if I get home early enough from work. But it's just because it's my way of portion control.
Right.
Because I have a problem with portion sizes.
Yeah.
So it's the only way that I can maintain eating 2,000 calories or less without overeating.
Without
So
overeating. I think like I've tried like multiple, like, sorry guys, you're getting healthy.
yeah, we're talking about weight loss now.
like I've actually tried like multiple, diets and stuff like that. And I just really believe, like, man, at the end of the day, like when you fast, especially like a 16-8, I know some people do do longer, but it's really beneficial, man, because it's like you allow your body to kind of repair itself and you kind of get everything out of there. And especially like you said with the portion control, like, like when you eat, your first meal, it has to be the right meal. Like it has to be protein. It shouldn't be too many carbs. It should be, some good vegetables that can give you some kind of nutrients. And then when you cut it, you have that window to cut it off. And like when you sleep and everything like that, like your body's still working, man. Like I just tell everybody out there, like some of these weight loss fasts of doing like that, like if you really like dig that deep dive into the science, like a fast is something that really, really works. And I just really like, I know, like, in this day and age in America, whatever, everything is accessible all the time to you. Like you get fruits that's out of season anytime, so it's kind of like you have to find a way to kind of like limit yourself. And like the fast is like, it's the best way to do it, man. I lost a lot of weight and gained, the muscle back and got rid of the bulges, man, just by something that simple.
Yeah, no, I freaking like I'm actually in the midst of writing because I have another channel, right, where it's just going to be kind of like talking about any other things, and I want to kind of just drop all the knowledge that I've learned over the years.
Yeah.
so that other people can benefit it. Because I'm not gonna become a personal trainer anytime soon. You know what I mean? I'm moving on to a next stage of my life, right? So I'm building a small business and then working on my channels just because I want to have that. It's fun
Yeah.
and I want to have that
You wanna
presence,
get
right?
the game to the people that need it.
Absolutely. So when uh before Skol Fest, right, I was 300 pounds at the end of July.
Yeah.
And that was the biggest that I've ever been. And I usually, when I was a trainer, I was in, depending on if I was in a cut or on a bulk, I would be anywhere between like 195 to like 225.
Right.
Right. And I was, lifting the heaviest, doing the hardest workouts, powerlifting, Olympic lifting, CrossFit. Like I was literally doing everything, right?
Everything.
I used to do the NFL bench combine test as one of the things that I would do every season,
Mhm.
and 19 is the best I've ever done. Not great, but good for an amateur. But anyways, um, what I did was I did intermittent fasting because another thing that's really difficult is to judge calories. Even if you control portion sizes, you might think that that's a 500 calorie meal,
It
but
might
it's
not.
actually a
Yeah.
thousand.
Right.
And then you make three meals like that, thinking that this is about 2,000 calories, but you've actually ate like 3,200. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And then all of a sudden you're over your calorie for the day that you've burned, right? So then
Yeah.
you're gaining weight, right? So it's
Yeah.
super, super difficult for you to lose that weight. So what I did was like intermittent fasting is good because even if you underestimate and you eat more calories than you think you're eating, you
Not at
still
all.
can't overeat.
Yeah.
And then another reason too is if you go for these like fad diets or these super strict diets,
You do something with it.
willpower can
Yeah.
get you so far, and then eventually it's just too hard to follow and you're going to end up quitting, and then as soon as you quit that diet, you go back
Everything.
to your
Yeah.
old ways and then more,
More.
because you're just like, oh, I just want to eat everything, and then you go
Yeah,
from
man.
before where you would eat a medium pizza like to yourself, and now you're eating a
And
large pizza
large.
to yourself.
Yeah. With
And
more toppings on it.
exactly. And you're just like, it just becomes a thing that it kind of hurts you. And I found that fasting, you get used to being hungry and you can kind of push it because you're like, like at first I was a very strict 8-hour eating window and 16-hour fast,
Yep.
and then I would stick to that religiously. But now that I've been doing it for August, September, almost 3 months now, I'm at the point where I break my fast depending on what I feel like because of the workouts that I'm about to do.
Right.
Because I lost 40 pounds in 6 weeks. I went from 300 to 260, and all I did was intermittent fast. I ate the exact same foods, but instead of ordering McDonald's for a burger, I made my burgers from scratch. So I bought the ground beef, the buns, the toppings, and although it's still not great for you, it's better than fast food.
Right.
You know what I mean? And so then after that, and then I would do every single morning, I would play Beat Saber for a half an hour. So it's a virtual reality game where you're just slicing
Yeah, yeah.
notes or whatever.
You're
And
getting
then
the
I made
cardio.
myself basically dance because you do it to like popular music. So it's just fun beats. So I made myself dance and be in an athletic position with my knees bent, and I would just play. And I would be freaking drenched in sweat. And I did no weight training. I didn't have to do any like walking. Like it's a lot of when you get to the extreme weight loss stuff, they say you need to walk 10,000 steps a day. You need to eat 6 meals and they have to be, a third rice and freaking, all these crazy things. And when you look at it, and then you got to train an hour in the morning, and then you got to train an hour in the evening, and then you got to make sure that you have, at least, all these things. And do you have freaking 6 hours a day to contribute to that? Because it becomes a
Yeah.
lot.
That's a
And
lot.
so I said, I have a lot the experience. When I worked as a personal trainer, I went 2 years straight where my clients, only my clients won the weight loss challenge at the club. And to the point where at first, other trainers would try to beat my clients, and then they tried a couple times and they realized that they just couldn't do what I did, and they just stopped, and that basically just let me have it every time. So I was like, I have the knowledge, I know how to lose weight. So this time I said, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna maximize my weight loss at every tactic that I make. So that's why I said I'm not gonna do any exercise, I'm not gonna do any steps. I'm just gonna find I'm gonna lose weight through diet change and good habits and
You have it.
switching from fast food, restaurant food, and literally
And that's
making anything from scratch.
yeah.
So
What
if
it's
I
gonna
wanted a pizza, I bought pizza dough, I bought the toppings, and I made it. You know what I mean? And for anything that I wanted, I learned how to make smash burgers. I can make lasagna from scratch, spaghetti and meatballs from scratch. Literally all the things that I was eating from fast food, I basically learned how to make. I learned how to bread my own mozzarella sticks. I learned how to make freaking stuffed crust pizza. I literally learned how to cook. And then the cool thing about that process is that after you do that, you learn how to cook.
you learn
And
how to
now when you go, oh, maybe you start getting to the stage where you're like, I want to try harder.
yeah.
You already know how to cook. So now you can start making these healthy foods and know how to make
Get
it
more
delicious.
restricted with the diet.
Exactly. And then you start now where I'm at now, where I eat mostly chicken and I kind of go through like sometimes I'll make my own shawarma or I'll make my own like chicken and rice or I'll make my own versions of things. Um, so where they're as delicious because of now I know how to season things. You know what I mean? Like unlike before, where I would just let the restaurant do it, and now I choose the ingredients that I use, therefore there's less calories in the food that I make. And then that's how I was able to lose 40 pounds. And then I allowed myself 30 days. I restarted well, not really 30 days, like 2.5, 3 weeks from the end of Skol Fest to October, where I just allowed myself to just maintain
Yeah.
and I let body composition because you can't go, I'm going to do this all and just go, go, go because you will run out of willpower and you will give up. So I
Yeah.
said, I'm just giving I'm going to give myself 30 days where I'm not going to let myself gain any weight, but I'm not going to focus on weight loss either. And I'm going to allow myself to eat. If I decide I want to order a pizza, I'm going to order a pizza. And then so I did that for the last part of September. I wouldn't eat the whole pizza now because now I was conscious of it. I was like, I'd only eat like one or two slices. You know what I mean? Unlike before, because I know that two slices is 1,000 calories for the
Yeah.
most part, right? So it just changed my philosophy, and then I was choosing the healthier food more times than not. And every single time I got a craving for a Nashville hot chicken sandwich, I'd go over to my favorite spot and get myself a freaking nice Nashville hot chicken sandwich with a freaking side of fries. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And then that would be the only thing that I ate that day. And then I was like, I'm not gaining weight. I was like, this is freaking awesome. And so now I'm back at it. And now I'm doing this next stage where I've lost 10 pounds now in 24 days, which isn't the best, but I'm doing three workouts a week, 3 to 4, and it's only 30 minutes max. And I'm doing literally none of the weight loss training techniques that I used to use. I'm not doing any steps or anything like that. But what I'm doing is I'm choosing to do two exercises. I do bench press and then I do squats because the way that I do bench press and that the weights that I do, it like when I'll give you this when you do like curls or bodybuilding style workouts where it's like 10, 12, 15 reps or whatever, you don't burn the calories that you would if you're doing heavy lifting. The reason being is because you use two different energy sources when you do both different types of exercises.
Right.
So I learned that when you exert hard and you put that kind of stress on your body, you use a different energy system where it just floods your system with energy, right? So that you have more than enough to do what you're trying to do. So when you do full body exercises, so my 4 exercises right now are bench press, and then squats, and then deadlifts, and then pull-ups, right? Because you're using a full body exercise, so that means you're getting everything is working. And if you go heavy enough, it has to be heavy enough. So I'm doing moderate to heavy so that I'm tapping into that energy. So then I'm basically just dumping calories
It's
when I
not
do a heavy
it's not
lift.
like you over there just
No,
move.
no, no. I do 30 minutes and I do like minute to a minute and a half rest. I have headphones in. I don't talk to anybody and I literally do my set and I try to I do warm-up sets for bench because I have to do a little bit more volume because it's not the same as a real total body exercise. So I do like 3 sets of 10, and then I go to 5 rep range, and then I go heavy so that I'm getting that exertion to where I'm dumping calories just to move the weight. And
Right.
then I move to squats, and then I go to, 185, 225, 245, and then I squat, 5 sets of 5. And I can barely get that amount of volume in 30 minutes. And then I leave. And I don't do any of the weight loss techniques or any of the stuff that I'm going to put myself through in December, which I'm kind of dreading because I'm going to freaking go hard. But my plan is to lose 100 pounds in the second half of the season. I'm already down 50. So
You
I
got
think I can get the next 50 down once I start
but
using the crazy techniques that I know. You know what I mean?
messing around with this team, man, you get depressed.
I don't, man. I definitely don't.
But I here, man, I gotta get ready for Zoe. And I
absolutely, yeah, because they're gonna get their 45 minutes before they. Sorry, guys, we went on a total weight loss tangent. I guess some people stayed because they wanted to learn something because we got like 15, 16 people in here still.
Yeah.
I thought it was gonna drop to like 2, but
like, stay on for a little bit because I want to ask you something about the live too, though. Because I gotta get
absolutely. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us. I really appreciate you guys listening to our rants. We try to be as real as possible and not, I definitely I hope I did a good job of not letting my optimism take over because I was trying to give you guys a real take. Again, thank you so much, D Woods. Skol State of Mind. If you guys haven't, go to Skol State of Mind and subscribe to his channel. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel too. I am on the road to 500 subscribers. I'm trying to be there for the end of the calendar year. So with your support and your help, it will really help. And don't forget to like both videos too. So D Woods, any last thoughts?
No.
There you go. I think we did really, really good, guys.
I said that already. Yeah.
All right, boys. All right. We'll catch you guys later. Keep on scolding, guys. Hopefully the best is yet to come. There's my optimism. Okay. The best is yet to come.
Yeah.
2025, Minnesota Vikings forged in fire. There we go. A bit of positivity at the end.
That's a great series, Forge and Fire. I watch that all the time.
Absolutely, man. Man, I think we have some good taste in TV shows too, but I hope you guys have a great one. I love every single one of you guys. Yeah. Yes.
It's hilarious.
Oh man, we could go on another tangent. Bye, guys. I love every single one of you guys, regardless of what team you guys follow. Absolutely, guys. Take care.